Hey everybody, welcome back to The Detective You Know. Today's video is really interesting. I actually just stumbled upon this. I didn't know this existed, and it's a case regarding the interrogation of police officer Nouman Raja, who worked for the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department in Florida. This is an officer-involved shooting. I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet, and I think you guys will find it interesting. The opening statements of Officer Raja's trial summarize this case very well, better than anything I could do put in the comments or in the description. And it's a well done opening statement that lays it all out. So I'm going to put that at the beginning of this video. There's no commentary to that, so that'll give you a full 10,000 foot overview, 360 degree look at this case. And then we go into the interesting interview, somewhat interrogation, but scene reenactment that was conducted by the detectives and the prosecutor in this case. It's unique. I've never seen one of these before. And then at the end of that is the 911 phone call, the dispatcher radio, and the victim's open phone call to roadside assistance that audio records the entire incident, and they stitched it together so that it plays like a full audio of this crime. It's super interesting. I've never seen anything like this with this kind of evidence and stuff, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, and hit me up in the comments. Let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, and whether you like this video or not.
Counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear a man get killed with your own ears. You can hear the last words that he spoke, the pleas that he made to that defendant right there to stop. You're going to hear the words that defendant spoke as he aggressively approached Corey Jones. You're going to hear the way that defendant treated Corey Jones in a matter of seconds, like nothing but a mere criminal. You're going to hear every gunshot fired out of that defendant's gun, which caused the bullets that ripped through Corey Jones' heart on October 17th and 18th of 2015. All this because Corey Jones, undeniably a black man, was on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. Now, that's not accurate. It's not because Corey Jones was sitting there waiting for a tow truck. It's because that defendant right there chose to refuse to act like any reasonable law enforcement officer approaching a stranded citizen in help. That is why Corey Jones died that evening. He recklessly created a situation which could only be expected to result in somebody being seriously injured or killed. And all the evidence is going to show three things at the end of this trial. It's going to show that that defendant shot and killed Corey Jones. It's going to show that he at no time acted like a law enforcement officer. And it's going to show that he is guilty as charged of manslaughter and attempted first-degree murder with a firearm. You see, this isn't just a tragic story. This is a tragedy that was created. It was created by him. It resulted in an innocent man being killed. Corey Jones was doing nothing except waiting for help on the side of the road because his SUV broke down. And one of the few people that should have unquestionably been there to assist him on the side of that road did exactly the opposite. Instead of being Corey Jones' saving grace, he was his angel of death. The evidence will show that there's no way Corey Jones knew, even at the time that he was running, fleeing from the back of his vehicle, running into the dark, seeking cover, laying there on the ground, dying, breathing his last breath. No way that he knew that the person that actually shot and killed him was a law enforcement officer. This all started back in October 2015. You'll hear about Corey Jones. He was living his life. Had a good job at the Delray Beach Housing Authority. Lived with his brother. Loved his family. Loved music. Music was his passion. He was a drummer. He played in bands. He played at family functions and organizations. And that's what he was doing on a Saturday night, October 17th of 2015. He was up in Jupiter, and he was playing with a band called the Future Presidents. As he's playing with the band, they do what band members do. A couple of them had a couple beers. A couple of them had a little bit of marijuana. They get done around 1 o'clock in the morning. And so Corey does what he should do. He drives home. He makes the trek down south, going home. But unfortunately for Corey, he never makes it home. His SUV breaks down right around PGA Boulevard on 995. So he pulls off, gets about up to the traffic light, pulls into the emergency lane like everybody is supposed to, and then does what anybody else would do that time of morning, with nobody else around when you're stranded. Start calling folks to help. He calls up the singer of the band, Matthew Huntsberger, who you're going to hear from. He lives right there close by. Matthew comes over. No problem. He just got home himself. Maybe there's something wrong with the oil. So Matthew goes and gets a couple quarts of oil, gives them to Corey Jones. That didn't do the trick. So he does what anybody would expect. He calls up a road ranger. See if he can get some assistance in starting up his SUV. Road ranger comes, and the SUV starts. But now you have the second person who's interacted with Corey Jones during that time in a non-confrontational manner. And it'll tell you the way that Corey Jones was acting. So Corey, once again, calls up his brother, CJ, who he lives with, who's actually waiting up for him that night. Asks for help. And CJ, being the good big brother, said, I'll come pick you up. I'll call you a tow truck. But Corey Jones had his drums in the back of his SUV, and he also had a promise that he was going to play those drums that Sunday morning for his family. He wasn't going to leave an expensive drum kit on the side of the road in a vehicle. He was going to make good on his promise. So he was going to wait for a tow truck. But you also now have a third person that talked to Corey Jones in a non-confrontational way. And then Corey does what he said he was going to do. He calls up AT&T Roadside Assistance. Talks to Madeline Hall, sales representative, health representative there to give him assistance. You're going to hear him talk to Madeline Hall because this whole phone call is recorded. You're going to hear the manner in which he spoke to her. The fourth person now that Corey Jones is talking to. He's out at the middle of the night on the side of the road, stranded. And unlike a lot of folks in this world, he was patient. He was nice. All he wanted was some help to get home. You'll hear it with your own ears. You'll hear how he's calm. You'll hear how he's giving her information just to get the help that he needs. But see, unfortunately for Corey Jones, his bad luck was turning much worse. Because unknown to him, that defendant was on duty. See, he was a police officer at that time of the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department. He was working a detail, a plainclothes detail, where he was supposed to surveil neighborhoods, looking for car burglars, and if he saw anything, he's supposed to call up marked units to come and take care of the issue. And he has supposed to be wearing a tactical vest like you see on TV, in the news, maybe in person, with big letters that say police across it. So everybody knows who he is. If he gets out of that van, an unmarked van, he's supposed to be clearly identifiable as a law enforcement officer. Well, guess what? That's not what he was doing. He didn't have that vest on. He didn't have a badge around his neck. He didn't have a hat that said police. He didn't even have his radio or his department-issued firearm on him at the time. He was just sitting carelessly by in his van, unmarked. And instead of doing what everybody would expect a law enforcement officer to do when they're approaching a stranded, potentially abandoned, but at least a vehicle that's stranded on the side of the road, that defendant did everything wrong. He did everything that you would not expect. He's driving an unmarked white van, and he comes along and he goes up the wrong way of an I-95 exit ramp. He goes up the wrong way. He cuts right in front of Corey Jones's SUV as it's parked. He positions himself diagonally, front end to Corey Jones's vehicle, with their bumpers mere feet apart, in an unmarked van with zero indication whatsoever that he's a law enforcement officer at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday turning to Sunday. That's what he chose to do. And instead of doing what anybody would expect and conducting a regular stop and getting behind the SUV, pulling all the way in front, he is blocking 2 lanes of traffic that are coming off of that interstate with an unmarked van. He jumps out. He's got no indication whatsoever he's a law enforcement officer. He's wearing jeans. He's wearing an inside-out t-shirt, a hat, no badge, nothing. And what does he do? Well, you're going to know what he does because you're going to hear it. And he tells you to. He runs around the front of that van and immediately becomes confrontational with Corey Jones. It's going to show all the evidence builds up. It's absolutely ridiculous what he did. It's grossly negligent when you talk under the law. It's just flat out reckless. That's what he chose to do. That was his decision with one only expected outcome. You got Corey Jones stranded in a vehicle waiting for a tow truck, and this is what he gets confronted with 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, Corey Jones, he's got an expensive jump kit. He goes into not the nicest parts of Delray Beach for his job. So he did what any lawful American can do. He purchased a firearm. .380 handgun. You can't even try to create the situation that came about. He got that gun 2 days prior to this event. It was still in the box in his glove compartment. But as soon as that defendant recklessly pulls up to him at 3 o'clock in the morning, in the way that he did, that gun came out of that box. Corey Jones knew what was exactly about to happen. What any reasonable person could expect to happen. You'll show through the evidence today and through the next 2 weeks what Corey Jones was thinking. You'll hear how Corey Jones had that gun out of that box. You'll hear the chimes of the door opening on Corey Jones' SUV because he still had the keys in the ignition. And you'll hear the last words that Corey Jones ever spoke in this world. They weren't confrontational words. They weren't fighting words. They were calm words that unfortunately turned to fear. Because there's the defendant. Nothing that shows he's an officer. He didn't even pull out the badge which was in his wallet in his back pocket, to show to Corey Jones. Much less put on that vest that said police or even had his radio or his gun. There's no verbal identification that you're going to hear on that recording when Corey Jones was talking to that sales representative that had to sit there and witness this horrific event unfold. There's nothing but an overly aggressive and immediately hostile attitude. You hear it for yourselves. You make the decision. You're the judges of the credibility of everybody, including him, because you will hear from him. You'll hear, when he jumps out of that van, you'll hear something fast, real short, and Corey Jones' response is, huh? I'm good. That's his response. With as much effect as that. And what's the response from our law enforcement officer on duty that's supposed to be helping a stranded citizen? Really? Yeah, I'm good. Really? That's what he's saying. That's not how an officer talks to a citizen at 3 o'clock in the morning on the side of the road. But that's how he spoke to what he saw with Corey Jones on the side of that road. All the while, when he's saying this, when you listen to this tape, realize things didn't stop. We're not all of a sudden just done with action. As this defendant is saying these words to Corey Jones, and Corey Jones is responding back, he is getting closer and closer to Corey Jones. He's actually chasing Corey Jones away from his vehicle. Corey's already retreating back out of his doorway to the back of his vehicle. A citizen that's stranded on the side of the road, already being chased from his vehicle by an officer who's sitting there saying, really? And when Corey Jones laughs and says, yeah, now he starts saying even more hostile. Get your fucking hands up. Get your fucking hands up. That's what he's screaming. That's how he's treating a stranded citizen. Immediately within seconds, that's what he's saying. You know, profane words being shouted at a time when a guy is sitting with a broken down car, trying to get home. And what does Corey say? He doesn't respond in kind with profanity. He says, hold on, hold on. Once again, get your effing hands up. Drop. 3 shots. Corey's running away. He's already retreating behind his vehicle. Physical evidence shows 3 shots. He chose to fire out of that gun because of the way that he acted. He was aggressive from the start. He immediately began chasing Corey Jones, and he never initially saw a gun. The words that he was speaking, show me your effing hands. Get your effing hands up. He didn't see what was in the hands right now. Not until Corey Jones was already being chased behind his vehicle. And when a law enforcement officer is yelling that at anybody, you know what he already had pulled out of his belly holster as a backup weapon in his hand. That's what Corey Jones was confronted with. He didn't choose it. He didn't ask for it. It got thrust upon him by the person that was supposed to be caring for his safety. He made a decision to shoot first and ask questions later. That was his decision. But see, this isn't the end of the story. Because now Corey Jones is running for his life. He is running for the cover of darkness. He's thrown down the gun already that he had in his hand that was meant to protect him. And you got 10 seconds. Because he didn't stop shooting. No, he kept shooting. But you got 10 seconds. That doesn't sound like a long time. When you sit there and you look at that clock and you hear those seconds tick away, and you consider that Corey Jones is running for his life after being shot at on the side of the road, that's forever. 10 seconds between the third and the fourth shot. 10 seconds for a young man running for the cover of darkness. 10 seconds for that defendant right there to finally do what he is supposed to do as a law enforcement officer. But that's not what the evidence is going to show he did. It's going to show his recklessness. His absolute reckless behavior from the start is now changing. It's evolving. It's now becoming a premeditated intent to kill. That 10 seconds was the time that he was able to reflect and consider what he was doing with that firearm in his hands. As he was pointing it towards the fleeing Corey Jones. As he was thinking about, do I pull this trigger? Am I hunting a human being? That is no longer recklessness. That is no longer just in the heat of the moment. That is now premeditated intent with one specific desire, and that was to kill Corey Jones. He fired those last 3 shots at 1 second intervals each. Control. Boom! 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 Not fast, but controlled. Once again, he's got an opportunity to act like a cop. Finally. Instead, he proves himself to be that bad exception that disgraces the badge that men and women wear. He waits over 30 seconds. 30 seconds to call 911. And why was he calling 911? Because he didn't have his radio on him like he's supposed to. He had to use his own phone to call 911, and he waited 30 seconds to call. Before getting medical assistance for Corey Jones, before getting much needed assistance, if he was truly in fear of his life, well, he needs to call Calvary. 30 seconds. Doing what? Letting Corey Jones die. And think, how is he going to act when he picks up that phone with 911? What is he going to say? You see, with great power comes great responsibility. Law enforcement officers undoubtedly possess great power, great capacity for good. But that necessarily equals great responsibility in the way that those powers are used. They have a right to kill a person if necessary. They don't have a right to kill anybody without absolute necessity. They definitely don't have a right to go and recklessly create the situation which then causes them to kill somebody. And that's what the judge is going to instruct you on when he tells you and explains what's necessary for us to prove manslaughter and attempted first-degree murder. You're going to hear the law. It's manslaughter means Corey Jones is dead, and it's by the culpable negligence or act of that defendant. And he's going to explain to you, the judge will tell you what culpable negligence means. He's going to say it means a course of conduct showing a reckless disregard for human life or the safety of other persons exposed to its dangerous effects of conscious indifference to the consequences. I couldn't have thought up better words to explain exactly what he did. From the time he chose to go that wrong way, that's what it is. Attempted first-degree murder. We've got to show that he did some act intended to cause the death of Corey Jones with a premeditated design to kill Corey Jones and that it would have resulted in the death of Corey Jones, but he failed. And I'm going to explain that. You see, he was reckless from the start. He created the situation, and the evidence is going to show you that he could have only expected one result: the death of Corey Jones. And that's manslaughter. It doesn't matter if we're bad. It doesn't matter if you're homeless. It's manslaughter. But see, he doesn't get a free pass under the law for those last 3 shots. The last 3 shots that he waited 10 seconds to deliver, and took 1 second intervals in between each one. The law doesn't give him a free pass for those shots. It doesn't give him a free pass for that now fully formed, premeditated intent to kill Corey Jones. You see, those last 3 shots are entirely different. Because now, he wanted to do one thing in Corey's life. Period. Corey was shot through the heart. He actually had his heart destroyed by that bullet, which is horrifically symbolic, saying that this young man lost his life because he lost his heart. You're going to hear a medical examiner come up here, a forensic pathologist, and explain to you all the injuries that Corey Jones sustained. He was shot in the left forearm. Fractured the bone in his forearm to the point where it compounded. It came out of his skin. He was shot in the back of the arm, the back of this arm, on the right side of the upper arm, and went through right out. He was shot in the right side of his chest, and that bullet ripped through his body, destroyed his aorta, and lodged into his left shoulder. That bullet resulted in his death. There wasn't any coming back. The medical examiner is going to tell you that it also resulted in his relatively immediate incapacitation. He could move a couple yards, maybe 10, 20 feet after receiving that, but then he was dropping dead. Now, you're going to hear different opinions. Defense attorneys, of course, are going to call the medical examiner and tell you Corey could have made the distance between where his gun lay and where his body was. 125 feet. 125 feet between where Corey's gun was thrown down and where Corey Jones's body was. That's outrageous. The medical examiner that literally held Corey's heart in her hand is going to tell you that there's no way that he would have been able to run that distance. But the defense is going to have somebody, sure they're going to say something different. But see, he's charged with death of first-degree murder, not first-degree murder. He's charged with 2 shots out of that last 3 that didn't hit Corey Jones. See, it doesn't matter whether he makes the distance or not by the way he's charged. Because he's charged with that fully formed, premeditated intent to try to kill Corey. Whether he shot and killed him in one of those last 3 shots, and minimum 2 of those shots he was trying to kill Corey Jones. And that is why he's guilty of attempted first-degree murder. And why under the law, he doesn't get a free pass. Even if he says that Corey Jones could have run 125 feet, literally, no harm. Now there's going to be a large amount of evidence. There's going to be a lot of witnesses that are presented to you. This investigation took time. You're going to see the evidence. You're going to see the evidence that was obtained without an intent to charge, but to investigate. Things that are good for the state, things that are bad for the state, things that are good for the defendants, things that are bad. All the evidence is going to be brought to you. You're going to hear from folks that stayed at the Doubletree Hotel that was right there on that offering. They're going to tell you things that they heard. They're going to tell you things that they saw. You'll hear from the first responders and the medics that got to the scene initially. You'll hear about how the defendant had zero indication whatsoever that he was a law enforcement officer. Zero way to identify him when those first responders showed up. You'll hear how he even tells those first responders that he saw Corey run away and throw his gun behind the SUV. His words. In the moment as first responders are showing up. You'll hear the dispatch. But here's 911 call. You're going to see a transcript from that 911 call. You'll hear that even after 30 seconds of that defendant thinking about what he was going to say, he starts off the 911 call. 30 seconds after that sixth shot, how do you think he's going to start off? He starts off by screaming, "Drop that effing gun right now." 30 seconds after the sixth shot. Corey Jones is dead. And that's how he starts off the call to 911. Why is that? Because he's had 30 seconds to think about it. The gun's already been thrown behind the SUV. He even tells the sergeant about that. You'll hear him tell the 911 operator, Corey came out with a handgun, the defendant gave him commands and identified himself as a law enforcement officer, and Corey began to run, so I shot him. You're going to hear his words, you're going to see it plain as day in a 911 transcript. You will not, absolutely not, hear him identify himself at any time. Because see, what he didn't know was that Bo and Corey Jones was laying there on his floor and recording everything that happened. He had no idea about that. He thought that his 911 call would be the first thing that anybody heard that was recorded. He didn't know that there was another recording. You hear about all the evidence from the crime scene. You hear about casings that came out of his firearm. You hear about the gun of Corey Jones, the chrome 380, empty oil bottles from Matthew Huntsberger. You'll see the gun of Corey Jones is 70 feet behind his car. 125 feet away from his car. It shows the flight that Corey Jones was taken away from his vehicle. Fight or flight. Corey made the decision. It was flight. He didn't make it. You'll see pictures of the van pulled up to the SUV less than 7 feet away. Who pulls up like that? Not a law enforcement officer. And you'll hear about the investigation. Attempts, admittedly, by investigators to try to show how could this defendant over here see that gun. Well, it's a shiny silver gun. Maybe something reflected off of it. So, of course, it's not singularly focused on trying to prove somebody guilty. It's focused on trying to find out what the evidence is. So, of course, can we show that? Yeah, sure, it's a shiny gun. Of course, light's going to reflect off. That means nothing as to where that gun was pointed or what it was doing. It just means that it was a gun that he maybe saw some light reflected off of it. You'll hear about the detail that that defendant was supposed to be working when he was supposed to be identifying himself as a law enforcement officer. You'll hear about all the CSI and crime scene folks that came in. Even the FBI came in to assist, research the area, provide expert analysis of the evidence. The gun of Corey Jones, the guns of the defendant were analyzed, the clothes of the defendant was analyzed. All of this you're going to hear about. DNA, fingerprints, in an attempt to try to make sense of what he did, what he chose to do. Months of investigation to try to make sense of it. Sometimes it just is what it is. In this sense, it's a crime. You're going to hear from that defendant right there. You're going to see him. You're going to hear his own words. You see, he made a statement that morning. He provided a statement to law enforcement hours after the shooting. An officer involved shooting, that time was common practice. Explain what you did, why you needed to use deadly force. He didn't know about that phone call that was being recorded. He had no idea that that was all actually recorded. And so you're going to hear about how inconsistent that statement he provided is with the phone call, with the physical evidence on the scene, and even with other statements that he made. Because the evidence is going to show that by that point, after having hours of reflection, he was now refining that story that he had created to explain why he just killed an innocent civilian. He says, yeah, you know what? I was supposed to put my vest on when I got a traffic stop. I didn't. I was wrong. Yeah, I screwed up. I should have acted like it was a vehicle and conducted any other traffic stop. I didn't. That was wrong. He admits he's not doing the things that he knows he should for the safety of himself and for the safety of every lawful citizen who depends on officers. He says, Corey Jones jumps out of the vehicle immediately, says, I'm okay. He says, police. And what did Corey do? According to him, during his statement, Corey jumps back and points the gun at him. And now he's afraid for his life. That's what he says in his statement. That's not what happened. That's not what you hear in the AT&T recorded call from the roadside assistance folks. But that's what he knows and he has to say in order to excuse his reckless conduct. In order to justify his premeditated intent. He says where he fired those first 3 shots is absolutely not matched up with the physical evidence. He says he got caught right there between that van and that SUV, and that's where he fired his first 3 shots. Not true. Absolutely 100% false. Those shell casings that came out of his gun are behind Corey's SUV. He had already chased Corey behind his vehicle before he ever fired his first 3 shots. He even says he calls 911 right after those first 3 shots, before he fired shots 4, 5, and 6. Absolutely not true. But see, in his mind, he was going along with that story he created when he first called up 911. He says now Corey Jones twists and turns and he thinks Corey's going to shoot him again, so he had to shoot 3 more times. These are his words. He also says how he practices pulling out his belly gun, so it's real fast. That is potentially believable. But there's a difference. There's a huge difference between misremembering something and just flat out being untruthful. There's a huge difference between trying to think about what happened and intentionally saying something to help you get away with what you did. We've all seen it. Whether it's with kids, whether it's with family, coworkers, we've all seen it. And you're going to see it again when you watch him give that statement that morning. You get to judge his credibility. With great power comes great responsibility. We choose to do this. We choose to take on that great power and that great responsibility. He chose to do it. You get to decide whether or not what he said was credible. Which ones are irrefutable? That recording is irrefutable. And who has a less than credible reason to tell you something that actually accords with the evidence that you'll see? You see, you're going to be presented with all the evidence that you need to convict. You're going to see all the physical evidence. You're going to hear all the witnesses. And it's all going to point, all the credible evidence is going to point to one thing: his guilt. You're going to even have more evidence than you need. We're confident that you're going to agree on the one verdict for which all the evidence will support. And that's a verdict finding him guilty as charged of being a reckless killer and for trying to murder Corey Jones. We're going to ask you to hold him responsible for how he misused that power.
In the early morning hours of October 18th, 2015, 911 dispatchers in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, received a call from on-duty plainclothes police officer Nouman Raja. Raja told 911 that he had just confronted and shot an armed man after stopping to investigate a vehicle pulled over on a highway off-ramp. The man, later identified to be 31-year-old assistant property manager and musician Corey Jones, had allegedly tried to run. Raja said he fired multiple shots in response. When other officers arrived, they found Corey dead from 3 gunshot wounds. Later that morning, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office launched an independent investigation of the incident. Investigators asked Raja, along with his attorney, to participate in a reenactment of the shooting.
All right, my name is Detective Kenny Smith, ID 6655. I'm a detective with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Violent Crimes Division. Today's date is October 18th, 2015. Approximate time is 0750 hours. We are currently in the area of 4300 PGA Boulevard on the I-95 southbound off-ramp onto PGA Boulevard. I'm presently investigating an officer-involved shooting. The incident occurred at approximately 03:15 hours on today's date, 10/18/2015. The events under investigation took place in and around our current location. These circumstances are being documented under PBSO case number 15-133920. It's also being investigated under...
Okay, several things already. Number one, that the tall gentleman with the baseball hat on in the middle, that's Nouman Raja. He's the officer who was involved in the officer-involved shooting. Next to him, on his left, is his attorney. And first thoughts, if your attorney should not be allowing you to speak right now. You were just involved in an incident a few hours earlier, a shooting incident, and they have brought in a prosecutor, a internal affairs representative, and a couple of detectives. This attorney should not be allowing this officer to speak. This attorney might want the officer to speak and give his story later once the attorney has gotten all of the discovery and information and evidence from the prosecutor's office. But right now, the only thing this attorney knows is what the officer has told him, and they don't know what evidence and information the police have. Also, watch Officer Raja. I'm no body language expert, but he does this weird, like, sort of squat, spread his knees apart thing, like every few seconds, and he's rocking around, and he's very fidgety. He's extremely nervous and stressed right now.
Palm Beach Gardens, case number 15-005522. Present with me are the following officials. Witness officer is, can you state your full name and your ID with Gardens?
Officer Nouman Raja, RAJ, ID number 438, Palm Beach Gardens PD.
And can you also spell your first name?
Nouman, Nouman.
Alrighty. And representing the state attorney's office is Tom Wills. And you don't have an ID number, I don't believe. Legal counsel is
Lawrence Fagan, PBA counsel on behalf of Officer Raja.
Okay, and also present for Palm Beach Gardens Internal Affairs is
Sergeant Todd Grossman,
Todd Grossman.
GROSSMAN.
Awesome. And other investigators is going to be Sergeant Karpinski, Karpinski, ID 6682. And also Detective Feifel, PFEIFLE, and ID number 9585. Crime scene videographer is Keith Thomas. Have no idea what your ID number is, Keith, but you're back there. Okay, at my request, Officer Raja has agreed to provide a sworn, videotape recorded description of his recollections and actions regarding this criminal investigation. Officer Raja, have you had the opportunity to speak privately with legal counsel, Mr. Fagan?
Yes, I've had.
Okay. Officer Raja, are you aware that a representative from the Internal Affairs Division will be monitoring this reenactment, and this is not considered a Garrity compelled statement?
Okay, so what that means, Garrity rights is something that Internal Affairs or a police department will give to an officer if they are subject to internal sanctions, internal discipline. Garrity statements, and it means you have to give a statement. Your department saying you are giving a statement, you have to give a statement under Garrity. However, the Garrity statement cannot be used against you or in court proceedings if the matter turns criminal. So let's just say you're being investigated within your department for like some sort of reckless driving offense that caused an accident where you violated departmental policy and you caused this accident, and they say, we want you to tell us what happened under Garrity. You have to tell them, or you're subject to departmental sanctions. But let's just say the matter then turns criminal because somebody died, or it was ruled that you were willfully negligent, which was a criminal offense, not just a violation of the department's driving standards. Whatever interview you gave, they can't use against you in trial or in court or to pursue criminal charges against you. Officer Raja has just been told this is not a Garrity situation. Okay, that's your first red flag, Raja. Officer Raja. It's criminal. You have an attorney there, which should indicate to you that this is criminal. And like I said before, the prosecuting office, internal affairs, he should not be talking right here. He wrote a police report, and that's all his department needs from him right now. And if you're not going to protect him with Garrity, he shouldn't be talking. Shame on this attorney. He should not be talking or doing this reenactment.
Yes.
Okay. Officer Raja, are you aware this is a voluntary procedure and that you may decline to continue at any time?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you feel as though you are emotionally prepared to provide an accurate reenactment?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the reenactment procedure before we begin?
No.
Okay. Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, wait 1 second. Okay. Having all this in mind, do you wish to proceed with the reenactment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to provide will be the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to go into as great as detail as you can.
Okay.
Why you were here, how you came about this. But first, I just have a few preliminary questions.
Sure.
You currently work for the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department?
Yes, sir. I do.
How long have you worked for them?
Since April of 2015.
April of 2015?
Yes, sir.
Any previous law enforcement before that?
Yes, sir. I was a sergeant with the...
Again, horrible body language, arms crossed, protecting himself, rocking back and forth, swiveling around, this weird up and down. He like bows his legs out, spreads his knees apart, and does this weird like squat thing. And up. All these nervous tics. Again, I'm not a body language expert, but I've interviewed and interrogated enough nervous people to know that this guy's he's not in an emotional state to be doing this right now. And you'll see shortly into this that he's in no emotional state. He was just involved in this shooting probably 6-7 hours earlier. It was at 3:30 in the morning. It's daylight now. It looks like it's just after dawn. So probably 6 hours earlier. He's not ready to do this.
Atlantis Police Department, and I started in Atlantis I think 2007, and I came just wanted more. Once I topped out there, I wanted more.
Okay. What are your current duty assignments here with Palm Beach Gardens?
Currently assigned to road patrol on the midnight shift, late night, 7:30 19:30 to 06:30.
Okay. Was that your
Could you
shift
keep your
last?
voice up? I can't hear.
Okay, sorry.
Was that your shift that you were working last night?
Yes,
also?
last night was my Friday. We worked 4-day on, 4-day off schedule. Last night was my last day on.
Okay. What do you normally wear in your duties?
On a normal days, we were full uniform with the badge and the name tag. For the last, since September 30th or so, we've had a lot of vehicle burglaries in our area and everything, and we were getting hit with them a lot. So starting last week, we started with this. We were setting up decoy cars, and at midnight, I'm Alpha 1 cover shift. So basically I have Beat 1, which is far out west, and there's not really that much happens. So they also use me as a cover unit of go to 94 here, go pick this call up and everything. So since I don't, in my beat, there's only PGA National and Marisol, the two communities. So at midnight, I would go set up the decoy cars and everything like that. I would dress down in street clothes, and I've been doing this for the last 4 nights. And I would either take this van, or we have a gold Crown Victoria unmarked, and I would take that and basically drive around residential neighborhoods and everything blacked out, no windows down, see if we see any burglaries occurring.
Okay. Did you have anything on you this evening after you dressed down, showing that you're a police officer?
Yes.
Did you have a badge or anything with you?
Inside, first of all, I always have my wallet badge with me with a police ID, which is per policy. And on top of that, inside my van, I had my tactical vest with had police in the front, police on the back, my name actually stitched onto the vest, Officer Raja, and I had my duty holster with me inside the thing. And the whole thing was, tonight specifically while I was in the van, was at the start of our rotation in our lineup, we were told that nightclub right down the road on PGA RC is called Lux, and across the road is downtown at the Gardens, Dirty Martini. Lux, Lux. They were having a hip-hop concert tonight, and there was supposed to be a huge crowd gathering tonight. So we decided to, if you open the back of the van up, you'll see 8 riot shields, this, that gear, the loudspeaker, crime scene tape, and sticks, And our thing was this: hey, if anything happens, if there's a big incident at Lux, if there's a big fight, we need to clear the crowd, we're going to forget about the 21 and report with the van immediately to Lux. So officers have quick access to it. And and number 2 thing that was discussed was this: while I'm in street clothes, while I'm in this, I do not do any takedowns, I do not do anything, but just in case of an emergency something happens, that's why I have the vest and everything identifying on me. I'm supposed to call a road unit to come out to handle any situations.
Okay, what he just said is really important. While he's dressed in plain clothes without any police markings or anything that designates him as the police, he's in a white van, like a workman's van, construction contractor van, dressed the way he is with no identifying marks or anything. He was instructed, and he knows that you are not to engage with anybody under those circumstances because you don't look like the police. You can't show that you're the police other than your badge wallet. You don't have a vest on, so you're not protected. You don't have all of your weapons on you, so you're not protected. You are to observe, report, call in a marked police unit to deal with anything because you are undercover. I have worked undercover before in exactly these circumstances that he's in, and your job is to remain stealthy, to not be identified as the police, to not let on to anyone that you're the police, and to call uniform units to any scene that you have. Remember all those things. That's very important. It's really the crux of this entire case.
Okay. Just to go back kind of quick, for other people that aren't police officers,
Yes, I'm sorry.
if you would, just in the future, stop using the signal codes and stuff, because somebody may not understand it. So
Okay.
you use 94, which we know is backup, and 21, which is burglaries.
Yes.
So if you can just use plain talk
Okay, no
for
problem.
the future, just in case, because some of the non-police officers may not understand what you were talking about at that point. You satisfied with that? You want to go into the reenactment? Or
You said you're supposed to call the backup during situations. What situations are you supposed to call backup?
Like, for example, if I'm in one of the residential neighborhoods and I see a burglary occurring or something like that, or a suspicious vehicle or suspicious person, to call a mark unit, give them my position where I'm at, and tell them, hey, this is where this.
If I see a suspicious vehicle, I am supposed to call a marked unit to my scene. Remember that. If I see a suspicious vehicle, I'm to call a marked unit to my scene.
Person is true. And then once the marked unit comes out there, makes the initial stop, comes in contact, throw my vest on if I need to and everything like that, and then go ahead and make contact with them.
And is there a person in charge of the tactical operation, if you will?
It wasn't really a tactical operation. It was just decided just amongst the early shift and late shift. So Sergeant Anderson, Sergeant Sprague, and Sergeant Garcia, who wasn't here tonight, are all aware of this, and they were monitoring. And one of the things was I actually bring my laptop with our GPS unit everywhere. So one of the things was this: hey, so you guys know exactly where I'm sitting, watching what area and everything. And every time I was doing this, I would go to my laptop, log it in. Hey, I'm over here, and I would write in my notes that, hey, white undercover van or the Gold Crown Victoria. This is where I'm at doing this.
Okay. So when this operation began,
Yes.
did your whole shift sit down and the sergeants go over what the plan was, what you're to do? Stuff like
Exactly.
That? All these rules that you're.
We verbally
understand?
discussed everything. Absolutely. It was a verbal agreement.
And also, you said you got your GPS in your laptop.
Yes.
Does everybody have access to where you are through GPS on their laptops?
Every single officer, every single sergeant, and dispatch has a huge screen in dispatch that has the GPS charts, shows exactly where every unit is. So if something happens, if I'm in my car, I can't get the radio, I can always say, hey, find my GPS location. It's an officer safety.
Just an observation. Every now and then watch his attorney on the left, and I believe he said he's PBA, which sounds like it might be his union attorney, which he should definitely know better, that Officer Raja should not be speaking right now or giving a reenactment. But if you watch him and the way he looks and the way he's intently paying attention, the way he looks at Officer Raja and the way he leans in, I get the impression that he's hearing a lot of this stuff for the first time. And that's also terrible. He should have gotten a full picture of what happened and a full statement one-on-one with Officer Raja before allowing this to happen. And he shouldn't have allowed this to happen, but it really seems like he's hearing this for the first time, which is shocking.
It's in this van now?
It's in this van right now.
And it's on?
It's on right now. My laptop's in there too. I actually have my I took like 2 or 3 t-shirts just in case somebody walked by. So I threw one on top of the laptop, threw one on top of the police vest so you can't see the police stuff and things like that.
Okay.
So, sorry to interrupt again, but everything he just described goes along the lines with when you are undercover, which is what he is, plainclothes undercover in an undercover vehicle, not an unmarked police vehicle. This is just a regular van. It has no lights. It has no sirens. It's got a computer in it. But he just talked about, if somebody walks by, I can throw a T-shirt over the computer and throw a T-shirt over my vest real quick so that nobody knows it's me. He knows that his job as undercover police is to remain undercover.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what I'd like you to do is go into what happened this evening. Start as far back as you have to.
Okay.
Try to go into as much detail as you can.
Okay.
If you need to stop. If you need a break, tell us, let us know. Okay, and then try to be as elaborate as you can with what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, tonight I couldn't really start this operation, if you want to call it, till midnight because I was actually a backup officer on a domestic call in Evergreen. And second I cleared the domestic call as the backup officer, I went to the station, changed out and everything through, and got into the van, had the van prepped and everything like that. And I sent Sergeant Anderson a message because one of the things was we were assuming that these people that were doing a lot of the burglaries are coming from Jupiter area, from the Heights. And we've checked, and we've seen a couple of these suspicious people that we've, checked out with before and everything like that, walking south on Military, walking south on Central. So I started my day I started on PGA. I went down Military, all the way down to Hood Road, went into Donald Ross Village, drove around there, and then came down Central, down PGA. And then I came back here, went to the gas station, got myself a drink and some snacks, which are still inside the van. And I started to do the communities. And as I was doing this, I was sending messages to Sergeant Anderson on the laptop. Hey, I'm going to this community. This is what I just did. This is what I just did. So he's aware of the whole. So the chain of command's going. So he's aware of my location at all times. I did the first community was the Isles. I did the Isles, and I was about to go.
So he's doing what Ken Blue did in episode 1, if you watch that. He is trying to put as much minor, little detailed information into this rambling narrative already in an effort to say a lot of truths. He wants to speak a lot of truths, take up a lot of time telling truths, tell a lot of things that they know are true because they're going to verify where he went based on his vehicle records and closed circuit camera, whatever. He wants to say so many truths because he's going to have to lie later. And he wants his entire statement to be so many truths with just a couple little lies in it that they're going to think he was telling the truth the whole time. And he shouldn't be talking again, but at most what he should be doing right now is giving them the narrative of his police report, which is at 0300 hours, I was driving this way on 95. I observed this vehicle. I did this. I did this. I did this. I did this. They don't give a shit about you going to get snacks and your drink and who you were typing to and what other thing you did. No, they want to know exactly pertaining to this. He's providing all this pad and filler so he can tell some truths.
To Evergreen, which is on Hood and Military on the northeast corner, and I was just about to go there and everything, and I remember that one of the 2 units responded to a domestic disturbance at the Marriott, and the Lux Club is located on the 1st floor of the Marriott. They responded to like on the 5th floor or something like that to a domestic disturbance that was pretty heated, and Sergeant Anderson went there too. And as Sergeant Anderson was there, I remember him calling on the radio, "Hey, we have a disturbance going on downstairs in Lux in the nightclub. Have officers respond." So you kept on hearing different officers. I had the radio on, like, "Officers, I'm on the way. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this might be that call that, it just might break loose. So let me take the van, get out of where I was at, and start heading down in this direction to be close to it, just in case if something broke, I have the riot gear, everything like that we discussed about." So I turned on from military to PGA, and I was going eastbound on PGA. And as I was coming here and everything, I saw this vehicle stopped here, didn't see anybody inside, nothing. And I called out, I believe, on the radio, and I said that I thought it was a disabled vehicle on the side of the road or an abandoned vehicle. So I saw this vehicle and everything, and I was like, okay, I've got this vehicle on the side of the road, and I'm going to...
This is the first bit of ridiculousness that this officer is going to spew. And these detectives, internal affairs, I think his own attorney, based on the look on his face, they all know it. Officer Raja just said that the reason he was in that van with all that riot gear was because they have 2 nightclubs further down the street, and that they had heard that there was going to be big crowds there and there might be disturbances there. And in case something pops off, he wants to be in the van with the riot gear to show up there in case they need all this stuff. He said just prior to pulling up on this, quote, abandoned vehicle, he was on his way to the hotel where one of the nightclubs is, because not only is the nightclub in that hotel, and that's a potential problem spot, so he was headed over there with the riot gear and stuff, but also officers were calling for backup to the 5th floor of this hotel because there was a domestic disturbance in progress, and everybody was going there, and he was going there. Let me tell you something, as a 22-year experienced law enforcement professional, when you are on your way to a domestic disturbance and everyone's going there and officers need backup, you do not pull up to what you think is an abandoned car when you're on the way. Of all of the things that we go on, barking dogs and abandoned cars are probably 2 of the lowest priority, lowest rung of the ladder calls that you can go on. And you would certainly not divert yourself from officers need backup and you're the guy with all the riot gear stuff on the way to check on an abandoned vehicle. So this is his first lie and the first flaw in his story, and everybody at the scene right now knows it.
Check out with it, make sure everything's okay. And, when I drove past it, I could not see anything, any occupants inside the vehicle. Or
You drove past it which way?
Eastbound.
Okay.
Eastbound. So I went down to the next light right there. I made a U-turn, came in here, And as I was coming, I was like, it's like, all right, it's just an abandoned vehicle. This is the on-ramp. I'm just going to pull in front of it like this and park in front and put my flashes on, dispatch the tag to see if I can see the owner. Maybe they walk to the gas station or have it towed, do what we need to do. But, it's like, and this is where I'm kind of like kicking myself in the ass. Like, it's like thinking about hindsight. It's like our, golden rule. It's like, always act like a vehicle's always occupied. Never take that chance of like, this vehicle not being unoccupied. If I knew the vehicle was occupied, I would never put myself in a fatal funnel situation like this by pulling in front.
Okay, let me explain what he just said. First of all, he said something dumb. Fatal funnel. I put myself in a fatal funnel position. What the fatal funnel is you never put yourself in a doorway or at the end of a long hallway where you think somebody is in the room with a gun or at the end of the hallway with a gun. That's the fatal funnel. Fatal funnel, it means that everything focuses down to you and you are highlighted and spotlighted to the shooter. So whether that's in a window, a doorway, or at the end of a long hallway, you don't put yourself in those situations. This isn't fatal funnel. This is just poor tactics. But it's a lie too. He didn't think this was an abandoned car. The way he is parked right now, this is not how you approach an abandoned vehicle that you want to see if anybody needs help or if you want to make sure it doesn't get struck from behind by an approaching vehicle who doesn't see that it's stopped. You would pull the van behind the silver SUV, facing it from behind at a slight angle so that the rear of your van protrudes into the next lane a little bit, and you'd put your flashers on and you'd have your headlights on the vehicle. That's a tactical way to approach a vehicle. You don't ever approach a vehicle from the front. B, you need to protect yourself and the occupants of that vehicle from anybody striking it from behind, which is why you position your vehicle behind. This approach here is the first indicator of the aggressiveness of this officer and his aggressive behavior throughout this scene. That is how you park to prevent a vehicle from leaving the scene and how you aggressively approach a vehicle.
Of it. And I didn't think there was anybody in there. And as I got close to the vehicle and the door swung open and this guy jumps up and I immediately got out of the van and he's like, I'm okay, man. And at which point I said, hey man, police, can I help you? And second I said police, he jumped back and I clearly remember him drawing and pointing a gun at me. I saw that silver muzzle and he had, I can swear on this, he had a Laser Max laser in the guide rod in the gun. And I saw that red light of that Laser Max flashing at me. And I immediately just shouted, drop the gun. And sorry.
Let's do this. Take a deep breath. Let's do this. Okay.
Remember the question he was asked earlier? Are you emotionally able to give this statement and do this reenactment? He's not. And I don't think he's faking emotion here. I think he is still in the post-traumatic stress period of this incident. I mean, he was faced with somebody with a gun. Whether or not it was pointed at him is still a question. But in the middle of the night, he was face to face with somebody with a gun, and he ended up firing his weapon and killing him. Right or wrong, improper or proper, that's a stressful situation, and he's dealing with that stress right now, you can tell. His lawyer, instead of putting his hand on his back, should be saying, we're done here, he can't give this statement right now, we'll get back to you. The lawyering here is shocking.
Do you need a drink?
No.
Okay.
You sure?
Listen, I want you to take your time. I want you to be open. Yep. Listen, why don't we
You want to walk
go over
Can
here?
you go over here and show us where you were when this happened?
Absolutely.
Take note of all of the police vehicles, police tape, uniformed police officers, evidence labels, and everything at this still active crime scene.
And
When you got out of the van, which way did you go?
right here, I came right here.
Hold on one second.
Yep.
Come back here.
Yes, sir.
Come back
Yes,
here.
sir.
Go ahead. Now, when you got out of the van, which way did you go?
In front. This is just like how it is. You don't,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I immediately jumped out and I came right here. And at that point, I didn't have what I had on me. The only thing I had on me, because I was in plain, like my gun was still inside, my duty gun, my vest was inside, and the only thing I had was my backup gun, my department approved backup gun, and waistband holster inside with a shirt tucked in like this. And I immediately said, "Hey."
I find it extremely interesting that two things here. I immediately hopped out and jumped over here. If you're checking on a vacant, abandoned vehicle, you're not immediately hopping out of your car and jumping over there and running over there. It's not what you do. So he's not telling the truth here. And the other thing, too, is they didn't ask him about a gun, I don't think. But he immediately starts talking about this backup weapon that he has in the front of his pants, and he even shows how he accesses it. I think that's his first slip up. He wants to claim later that he didn't pull his gun until he was drawn down on by the victim in this case. But he's talking about his backup duty gun and showing how he accesses it the second he jumped out of the car. I think that's a truth slip up there.
"Hey man, police, can I help you?" And at which point, that's when he jumped back and I saw him draw the gun right at me, right after I said the word police, and it was just like, and it was just, I kind of got like caught with my pants down at that point. And it just immediately, it's like, I apologize. It's just like, your family flashes in front of you, your kids flashed in front of you, and you're just like, and just immediately I drew down. I was like, drop the gun. And he didn't, he was right there. And I remember pulling the trigger, I think 2 to 3 times, and he started running. And as he was running, I had my cell phone and I dialed, and I still remember putting my code in, and just like this, I had the gun, and I'm keeping an eye on this guy, and I put my code in, dialed 911, and I called dispatch right away because my radio was in the van. And the whole time, I'm like giving him commands, I'm yelling, screaming, I'm like, drop the gun! And as he's running, he gets about like right, just a little past where the guardrail starts, and he does this number, and I see his whole body spin, and I saw like a flash, a silver flash of like a metallic flash come at me, and in my head, I immediately said, aim, and I was like, aim, and I just picked that front sight right in the center mass, and I just pulled.
You just got a glimpse of his aggressiveness. He's a firearms instructor, but I've never trained. I've gone to the range 200 times in my career. I have never had an instructor teach you to punch out your gun like that and yell, aim at yourself. I've never had an instructor yell, aim, when it was time to fire the target. So I don't know what he's trying to do here with that, but you can hear the aggressiveness and the anger almost in his voice. And furthermore, continue to watch the attorney. He keeps leaning in with very much interest in what Officer Raja is saying, because again, I don't think he's ever heard this before, which is shocking.
The trigger 3 times, and I saw him drop, and I saw something silver fall. And at which point I was still on the phone with dispatch, just felt like, get your radio.
I saw him drop, so he fired. Officer Raja fired. I saw him drop and something silver come out of his hand. It's a lie. The gun was found 75 feet behind the victim's car, and the victim was found another 125 feet further. So all of that's a lie. Another lie is, look at the front windshield of the Hyundai SUV, the victim's Hyundai. Not tinted. I can see the seats. I can see all the way through to the back window. The victim in this case was sitting in the front passenger seat on the phone with like a AAA to get a tow. So Officer Raja's lying when he said, I didn't see anybody in the car, and he's approaching it from the front, and he drove by it from the front. It's another lie.
And I just held what I had right there. I couldn't really see where he dropped, what happened, if he moved or anything. And I'm like, I don't see him. I don't have a visual on him. And I started to walk backwards and everything, came back to the van, grabbed my radio, grabbed everything, called out on the radio. And That happened, and Sergeant Sprague was the first one, and I can't remember, it was one of the Tauruses, new Tauruses, were responding, and they actually thought it happened in Doubletree. And I got on the radio, I was like, guys, I'm right here, and they quickly turned in right here, and it was Arlotta, Nico Arlotta. And Arlotta had his rifle slung up in Sprague, I think. I'm like, guys, I lost sight of him right there.
Do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
I want this is for you.
I'm
I want you
sorry.
to take a deep breath,
Nope.
okay?
I'm just-
Because I'm having trouble. You're a fast talker,
Yeah,
and you're explaining everything. I want to be able to understand and make sure everyone's good. But I want to also give you a break to try and get some oxygen in you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's just the
That's
whole
fine.
kids thing
Oh,
gets to me.
absolutely.
That's perfect. Did you have a question?
I do. I do.
Yes.
Now, while you were going through this, at any time did that individual fire at you? Do you know if the gun went off?
I don't know, honestly. I was...
Also, we've got a good shot of the passenger side window right now. That has 0% tint on it. You can see right through that window to the road, and if you look at the road to the left and the right of it, it's the same color. So under no circumstances did Officer Raja not see a person sitting in that vehicle. No tinted windows in the front. And his angle of approach, just another unbelievable lie.
Screaming at the top of my lungs. I was screaming, dropped, and the only thing I can think of was like I'm saying drop the gun. I announced myself as a police. Why the guy pointing a gun at me? What the It was...
Okay.
I don't know if he fired around. I mean, I don't...
That's the third time he said that I announced myself as the police. I believe he said it twice in his reenactment, and he just there said, I don't understand why he was doing what he was doing, why he was running. I announced myself as the police. Don't forget, this entire incident, from the moment Raja got out of the car, was recorded on the cell phone call, the open cell phone call that the victim, Mr. James, was having with AAA.
remember.
Okay. At any point, did you have any contact with that individual? Any kind of personal contact?
No,
did you,
no.
When you were walking up?
No, as again, like he jumped up and he said, "Hey, I'm okay," and I said, and I came out and said, my exact words were like, and I made sure I was speaking loud. I was like, "Hey, man, police, can I help you?" And immediately he does a step back and kind of like boom, and just draws the gun. It's basically, if you're standing right here, do you mind if I?
Absolutely. Where was?
Sure.
Okay.
You said you got out of the van here. You had indicated
Immediately.
earlier you put your flashers on. You said something about putting your
No,
flashers
that,
on.
my game plan as I was coming from PGA was this. I thought it was a disabled vehicle, so I was going to pull in front of the van, in front of the SUV, and put my flashers on, walk out, and see what's going on, and call out the tag and call it call it tow truck.
Pull in front of the van and put my flashers on. What good would that do, dude? That's not going to stop anybody from behind from hitting this vehicle, and you're blocking 2 lanes of traffic. I believe the victim's vehicle is in the shoulder, is on the shoulder. It's on the other side of a solid line. This van is blocking both right turn lanes of this exit off of the interstate. That's insane. You would never do that.
If I needed to get the vehicle removed, I thought it was a broke down vehicle. There was nobody in it.
Okay. And is there a reason why you stopped here instead of pulling up?
Because the guy jumped out.
He jumped out as
Exactly.
while you were in the car. He jumped out.
He jumped out, and I immediately jumped out too.
You were dressed exactly like this.
Exactly.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly.
Radio mic?
Exactly like this, and I had my holster, which was covered.
It was covered.
It was.
If that statement is true, he jumped out right when I pulled up. I don't know. Viewers, can you blame him? It's 3:30 in the morning. This white creeper van comes screaming up, pulls up 5 feet away from the front of your vehicle across 2 lanes of traffic, driving the wrong way on the exit ramp, and a dude that looks like that jumps out and most likely jumped out either gun in hand or pulling that gun out. Can you blame the guy for jumping out and grabbing his own weapon? I don't. The jury didn't either.
And Did you have anything to do with recovering any piece of evidence around here?
No.
Whether it be shell casings or guns or anything like that?
Second that happened, second I washed my hands, Sergeant Anderson was like, Raj, you need to be with me. And he took me, do you see where those officers, where those guys are standing right there by that car?
Yes.
Right there, and I was there for the rest of, till our
Never
command bus.
entered the crime scene again
No.
until you did this reenactment?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Did you get into a car, or were you still outside?
No, I was outside the car the whole time till the command bus, our command bus came, and I got into our command bus, and then your.
Here's why he's struggling with this reenactment right now, and shame on these detectives and the AI and the prosecutor for doing this. As I mentioned earlier, notice all of the police cars, crime scene tape, evidence markers on the ground, all of that is still there. He should not be at this scene. He is a party to this scene, at least a witness, and at worst, a suspect. You do not have witnesses and suspects walking around active crime scene where evidence is still laying on the ground, crime scene tape is still up, and other uniformed officers who may have witnessed this or may be witnesses to a part of this are still standing around and listening to his narrative of his story. And the reason that Raja is struggling right now, initially he said, yeah, I started shooting right when he pointed the gun at me and I was standing here. Well, he's looking down the road, and you'll see in a minute, he's looking down the road a little bit behind the vehicle, and he sees the 3 evidence markers for the 3 shell casings that came out of his gun. Now, he can't say he was standing where he's standing right now and shot because there's no shell casings there. They're further down the road. He wants these officers to believe that as soon as he saw Mr. James with the gun, he fired, but he can't because he knows the evidence is down the road. That's why this should have been done. This reenactment should have been done as soon as this crime scene was cleared out of evidence, of officers, of other patrol cars, so he couldn't have hints and clues as to how to tailor his story. And you're going to see over the next 10 minutes him tailor his story based on the evidence markers on the ground, not really what he wants to say, which would benefit him, which is, this dude pulled a gun on me, I raised my gun and fired at him. Nope. You're going to have to, at some point, Officer Raja, admit that he was running away from you the whole time while you were shooting at him.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking. I know when he had the gun pointed at me around the car and everything, I fired. I know that.
Do you remember exactly where he was at when he...
Look at that range. He's claiming that Mr. James was standing in between his door and his car, so right behind the guy where the guy in the black shirt is, right in that V formed by the door and the open door frame of the car. He's claiming that Mr. James pulled his gun out right there and that Officer Raja was standing right where he is and fired. Now, funny, there's no shots in the glass. There's no bullet holes in the car. And you're a firearms instructor and you missed that shot from 7-8 feet? No, he's lying, and he has to lie because it makes his story better if you shot when presented with the threat, not shot 6 times as somebody was running away from you.
And let me go back. You said that you got out, you jumped out, and you came around here. When did the gun come into play, and where did it come from?
See, he jumped out immediately. He said, "I'm okay, man." He said, I'm okay. And I said, "Hey, man, police, can I help? Can I help you?" And second, I said, I remember.
Don't touch
Oh,
it.
okay,
Yeah, don't
exactly.
touch.
I'm not touching
Go near
anything.
it,
No.
just don't touch.
I remember clearly seeing this. The gun was right here. I remember seeing it above the door level, and it was in this area right here, pointing at directly at me. And I remember seeing it was a silver gun. I could clearly see the hole of the muzzle, and I could see that Laser Max laser in the guide rod flickering. It was like flickers, red on and off, on and off.
Okay. So he was in this area.
Yeah, he was in this vicinity.
So something interesting about that, I only played for you guys the prosecutor's opening statement. The reason I did that is just because he was found guilty, so a jury obviously believed the prosecution, so the only thing really relevant was the prosecution's opening statement. They didn't buy into the defense theory, so I didn't play that. But one thing interesting that the defense did bring up, which I do believe, so it was sort of a shiny silver gun, and on the end of the gun there's some surface area that's shiny silver. Well, when they did a reenactment test, the prosecution did a reenactment test of the scene at night with a similar gun. They found that the red and green traffic lights, just maybe a couple dozen feet ahead of these cars, when those lights were lit either red or green, that light reflected on the muzzle, the end of the gun. And if the gun was moving around, it created that flickering red or that flickering green. So I believe Officer Raj is telling the truth here that he saw a flickering red light, but it was merely the reflection of the red light behind him, which also leads me to believe that Officer Raja might be telling the truth here, that the gun actually was displayed and maybe was pointed at him. I won't discount that. That's such a weird thing to be able to make up, that was later proven to be true, that there was a red flickering, and the prosecution took pictures and video of it, and you can see it. So I do believe that a gun was displayed by Mr. James. I don't blame him. This dude dressed like this pulls up in a creeper van and jumps out and is like, "What's up?" But the gun was never fired. Mr. James's gun was never fired.
Couldn't even see his hands. So one of the sergeants said, "We need to go make sure that that he's not alive still. He's not holding on to the weapon and everything like that." And Sergeant Anderson had the shield out. I was behind him in shield cover like this, and Sergeant Sprague was on further from me with the rifle out, and we slowly approached the body. I think we gave some royal guys, "Show me your hands, show me your hands," and nothing happened. Didn't move, didn't even flinch. And Sergeant Sprague said, "Raj, we got cover, holster up. We got to pull his hands out." And so holstered, pulled his hand out, pulled the other hand out, and then.
This didn't happen a week ago. This happened 6 hours ago. The problem that he's facing right now and the struggle that he's facing is right now he is literally looking down the street and seeing 3 evidence markers on the ground, and he knows he fired 3 shots and then 3 more, and he can see the first grouping of 3 shell casings on the ground about 30 feet past the vehicle. So he knows he's in a bind here, and what you're seeing is him just short circuit right now with all of this. I can't remember. I'm thinking. Yeah, he's thinking of a lie.
If I had to say something, I would probably say about like in this region right here.
I don't want you to have to say anything. That's why I asked you approximate. So if you're safe saying where your attorney is standing and somewhere between there and somewhere, you just let me know.
It's somewhere in this area right here.
Put this at the western boundary of any possibility of where you were standing.
Okay, I'm gonna put it about here. Let's see.
And put this at the eastern. And take your time and arrange them how you want.
Okay. So I know I never went that far. I'll probably say about here.
Okay, viewers. I could hand any of you, a gun and show you how to just hold it and squeeze the trigger and put a mannequin where Officer Raja said that Mr. James was standing in that little V section where the open door of the car is, and have you stand anywhere between those 2 cones and ask you to fire 3 shots at the mannequin. Almost all of you would probably hit the mannequin, and those of you that didn't hit the mannequin would hit the hood of the car, the windshield, the A-pillar, the driver's side window, the driver's side door, the roof rack. You'd hit something, because with that gun stretched out, punched out all the way, you're looking at about 4 feet range there. So this is just, these detectives are watching this going, "Are you kidding, bro?"
When you said you swore you shot up there when he first pulled the gun at you, did you see if it had an impact on him?
I couldn't tell.
Did you notice?
Were you watching him at the time?
My aim was I was watching that gun.
Did he fall down?
No.
Did he stumble? Did he say ouch or you shot me or anything?
Did he say anything at that point?
Nothing. Nothing was said. And he was just pointing the gun right.
Okay. No body reaction to indicate something may have occurred?
No, nothing. Just flight at that point.
And which hand was he holding the gun in?
Right.
Okay.
And again, do you remember where it came from?
He was like my view was blocked by that door a
Okay.
lot, so I couldn't tell if he had it in his waist, if he had it in the door, if he had it on his seat. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember seeing that thing coming right at me.
Now, let me explain the running away part, because this is where a lot of people have some misunderstanding. There is a law. It's called Tennessee versus Gardner. It's a Supreme Court case, and it basically allows police officers to shoot at a fleeing felon. You are taught this case in your constitutional law class of the police academy. And it is one of those cases that just sticks with you forever, because it gives you the legal authority to shoot a fleeing felon. But I don't know any police department in this country that thinks that's a good idea, except under very, very, very certain circumstances. It is a murder suspect who has just committed a murder and is fleeing the scene, and you've witnessed the scene, and you know that's the murderer. Somebody fleeing with a weapon who just shot up a school, or a bank robber who just shot a bank teller. There are circumstances where shooting a fleeing felon is necessary for the protection of the public. This is not one of those. I guess Officer Raja's excuse would be, this guy pulled a gun on me, which is a felonious assault, so I have a right to shoot this fleeing felon. However, Florida has stand your ground laws, which means if someone is a threat to you and you are legally carrying a weapon and fire that weapon in protection of yourself, it's justified and authorized and allowed. I would argue that, and the jury also obviously saw fit, that even if Mr. James did pull out this weapon and point it at this officer had no markings, did not identify himself as the police, as you'll hear later, and pulled up in this creeper van and was very aggressive. So any explanation by Officer Raja for shooting this, quote, fleeing felon at this point is just nonsense.
And if I'm thinking, and this is where I grabbed my phone and I started running after him with my gun still pointing in his direction, screaming, and I was on 911, I was yelling, I was like, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun.
That's a lie. For two reasons. The recorded phone call that Mr. James was on AAA with later shows that he did not call 911 until 33 seconds after the last of the 6 shots was fired. Number two, these detectives know that there is no way in hell that in the middle of a gun battle, after firing 3 shots, while you're running after a suspect with a gun, you are going to pull out your cell phone, hold your cell phone in front of you while trying to maintain eye contact with a fleeing suspect with a gun, that you are going to have the ability to call 911, or that you would do such a stupid thing. I've been many foot chases with criminals. I've tased many suspects, and I have often gotten on my police radio in the middle of those conflicts, whether it was while running with my gun out, in the middle of tasing somebody even. But most officers who wear radios, more often than not, have a microphone or a radio mic here with a cord that goes down to the radio, which is on your side, or up on your shoulder, clipped to the epaulette of your shirt. And you can very easily, with one hand, if I'm trying to hold somebody at gunpoint with my right hand, I can very easily click my radio up here and lean over and say, send me back up, send me back up, send me back up. I can do that while running. Or if it's here, send me back up, send me back up, send me back up. I can click the radio with my free hand. That's not a problem. Never in a million years would a police officer pull out a cell phone while running after a suspect with a gun and dial 911. That's just Maybe if the chase calmed down and you lost that suspect, or you were actively disengaged from the shooting part of the chase, yes, but not in the middle of 2 volleys of 3 rounds. And these detectives know that.
So, yeah.
Okay, on the ground right there, in between the 2 detectives, that yellow placard on the ground, just before the arrow on the ground, that's an evidence marker. So what happens at a crime scene is, first thing that usually happens at a crime scene scene is it's taped off. You're setting up a perimeter, and somebody is monitoring who goes in and out and is keeping a log, and nobody that should be in there other than detectives and crime scene technicians. The crime scene technicians will come in and they'll take photographs of everything as it sits, undisturbed as it sits. Then, once all the photos have been taken, they'll go back later and put these yellow, it looks like a yellow tent with a number on it. They will put those next to or on top of or over any evidence. If you were paying attention in the last few minutes, it's hard to see, but you'll see more later. Behind, like more towards the camera, like right where the cameraman is standing right now, are 3 placards. Those are 3 shell casings from Officer Raja's gun. That's basically where the cameraman is standing right now, is where the first 3 shots were fired. Where that placard is that you can see just to the left of the guy with the blue shirt, there's 3 more there. So the first round of shots were shot where the cameraman is standing. The second round of shots were shot about, 20, 30 feet up. And it's a shame that Officer Raja can see all this evidence, because he's crafting and tailoring his story based on the evidence markers that he can see. They should have done this without evidence on the ground to get his true recollection, not his suggested recollection, because the evidence is still there.
Wanting to help them, they're like, no, I'm good. I'm waiting for someone to come bring the gas, or I called a tow truck already, or whatever the case might be. And he immediately just jumped back when I saw that fucking gun come at me. And at that point, it's like, he knows I'm a cop. I identified myself. This guy's trying to kill me, and I didn't want to die.
Did you have anything out that would identify yourself physically as a police officer?
I didn't even get a chance to even grab my wallet out, because the funny thing is, earlier in the night, I was in the aisles when I was doing my patrol in aisles. As you enter the aisles, you make the first right, and there was a gentleman walking his dog, and he immediately saw me, and because I was blacked out in a van driving around, and I immediately grabbed my wallet, and I went like this. I was like, sorry, I'm a police officer. It's okay. We're here doing surveillance and everything. So I knew to identify myself right off the.
These detectives just know that's crazy. These detectives have all been to the range. They've been patrol officers. No one teaches you to yell in an angry, teeth-gritted voice, "Aim!" when you're drawing down on a. It's just mind-boggling. And furthermore, he pointed to an area way down there by the yellow tape, which is where Mr. James's body was found. And he said, I saw him turn and I saw something silver in his hand. Well, what Officer Raja doesn't know at this point, and this is another reason why his detective or his lawyer shouldn't have allowed him to give this statement, is the gun was found at a spot actually behind them, closer to the suspect's vehicle or the victim's vehicle than they're standing now, not way, way, way down there by the yellow tape. So it's impossible that Officer Raja saw something silver in his hand and he turned way down there, which is where the kill shot was made by Officer Raja. He's trying to justify why I took these second 3 shots and killed him down there, that he had the gun, but he had already ditched the gun 125 feet before that.
And I squeezed, I believe 2 rounds.
Okay.
And I saw him drop, at which point, and when he dropped and everything, and I started going up, and I couldn't see him. And I was like, I lost sight of him. And they're like, go get your radio. And I started to go, and I was like, just pedaling back and everything. And the guys came, and I was like, look, I lost sight of him right there. I don't know where he went to. And I think one of the officers was up north. He's like, I think I see something up there, and this and that. So, and then Sergeant Sprague or Sergeant Anderson, one of the sergeants, was like, Raj, come show me exactly where's the last point you saw him. So I started walking up the guardrail. As I started walking up, we saw him right there.
Okay. What happened after that?
Once we saw him and everything, he was laying face down, and both his hands were tucked underneath him. So Sergeant Anderson came to my left. He brought a shield. he was shield guy. I was shield covered behind him, and Sergeant Sprague came to the north side of us from almost at the tree, and he had a rifle out. And we said, okay, we need to approach it to make sure that, he's still not armed, what's going on and everything. So we slowly approached him and everything like that. But before that, when they came, I ran to my van. I immediately put on my vest, and I immediately clipped on my thigh holster, my duty gun. So once we started to approach him and everything like that, he still wasn't moving. I think we gave him a couple of verbal commands, didn't respond. And Sergeant Sprague said, Raj, go ahead, go hands on with him. I holstered immediately, and they said they've got cover. I grabbed one arm, pulled it out, grabbed the other arm, pulled it out, and we said, and Sergeant Anderson or Sprague said, flip him, make sure he's not laying on top of the gun. And we just pulled him back, flipped him back, saw there was no gun visible and everything. And Sergeant Sprague said, okay, call fire rescue, all right, let's clear. And I came back here, and there was a rescue truck here, and I was covered in his blood, and I was like, can you just get this off me? And they took like hydrogen peroxide and just started pouring it all over me, started washing me.
All over you?
Yeah. On my hands and arms.
Okay.
And then I think then either sometimes around that time and everything like that, I remember Sergeant Maul was there, and I was like, Sarge, here's the gun that I used right here. And I gave him the gun with the holster and the extra mag and everything just like that. And I think he put it in his trunk.
Okay. All right.
While there's a break in them talking, let's also just talk about how stupid what Officer Raja did. Even if you believe everything he says, just how police tactically stupid this is. It's 3:30 in the morning. You come upon this abandoned vehicle that you're going to check on, and when you get out of your car, a dude jumps out and for some reason just pulls a gun on you. After you announce that you're police, he just pulls a gun on you. He doesn't fire the gun and immediately starts running. Everything Officer Raja did after that, if you believe all of that, which it's all a lie, but even if you believe up till that point, tactically, what he did was so stupid. And he's an experienced officer. He should know better. It's 3:30 in the morning. You don't run off into the dark chasing after somebody with a gun with no backup, with nobody around. You can call it out. You can set up a perimeter. You're in a big grassy area next to an interstate off-ramp. He's not going to get far if there's officers in the area and you can set up a perimeter. But even more importantly, he left his vehicle behind, which means there's probably a wallet, a backpack. If it's his vehicle, it's registered to his name. There's going to be more identification documents probably in the glove box. You know who he is. Why risk your life and imperil yourself when you know who he is? And you can tow the car, get a warrant for his arrest. If you can ID him off of his driver's license picture and say, yeah, that was the guy that was sitting in the car, the guy who's registered the car is the guy who's sitting in the car, you'll get a warrant for his arrest. I can't tell you how many times when there's been vehicle chases or somebody running from us and we knew who they were. It's you're a danger to the public and you're a danger to yourself if you don't just get an arrest warrant for him later. If it's nothing, super hot like a murder just committed or a kidnapping just committed or something like that. So everything he just did is dumb.
Can I clarify a couple things?
Go ahead.
The shirt you have on.
Yes, sir.
Is that the shirt you had on?
Exactly just like this.
It's on inside out.
Inside out, because it's a shirt with the American flag on it.
Okay.
And the night before I had a green shirt like this with an American flag, and while the officers drove by, like that gives you away as a cop, you got a flag on your shoulder. I was like, all right, I got to flip it inside out.
Okay.
So I flipped it.
Let's talk about conditions. Right now, I can see you. There's no street lights on. The sun has risen. You can see. Well, tell me about the conditions at 3:15.
Up front, when I was right there with him, I could see him crystal clear. But when he started to run away from me, all I could see was a silhouette, and I could see his face. I could see this, and I could see his
Up front, where he was standing, I could see him crystal clear. So anybody who wanted to withhold any judgment on whether or not Mr. Raja or Officer Raja could see anyone sitting in the car, that was just dispelled. And you can actually see to the right of the lawyer is that giant pole That's a light pole. Over the head of the bald detective, right over his nose, is another light pole. This is a common interstate off-ramp in an urban area. It's lit up so people can see. He could see inside that car.
Body movements and stuff, like he was wearing a black shirt, but you could, like, he wasn't really that dark black skin. Like he was like just maybe a couple of shades darker than me, so you could make out this is where his shirt stopped, this is where his arm stopped, and I could see him turn, and I could have sworn I saw that, like, that silver thing, like when he turned I saw some silver in his hand turn, and that's when I was like, aim, and squeezed off a few rounds, and the whole time I'm on the phone with dispatch.
You said he pulled the gun at you
over there,
right outside of
right
door,
up, yeah,
or in
that vicinity, yeah,
yeah. And you described it as what?
I saw a silver muzzle. I could clearly see the bore size hole, and underneath it, where the guide rod goes with the handguns and everything like that, he had a laser max laser which blinks. And I'm speaking this from experience because I'm a firearms instructor, and I teach civilian, I teach at the police academy and everything, and I can clearly identify a firearm when I see one, specifically when...
Okay, don't believe in Officer Raja's first bravado, because the gun did not have a laser on it. It was the reflected red light on the silver finish of the gun that he saw. So don't put too much belief in his training experience and his knowledge of firearms.
It's pointed in my direction.
And you indicated, you testified that you were pretty quick on the draw.
Yes.
You said you drew it out quick. Are you pretty quick with?
I practice like I practice all the time.
And he pointed his gun at you at there?
Out there. Second, he pointed, when I said, hey man, police, can I help you? And that's when he jumped back, pointed the gun at me and everything.
Okay, why didn't you shoot him there?
I thought I shot him there. I thought I pulled the trigger.
Very good question by the detective in the black. So he asked a bunch of qualifying questions first. Where were you when you saw him with the gun? Where was he when you saw him with the gun? And now he says, why didn't you shoot him there? Which is the number one question. This guy presented a gun, pointed it at you. You saw the end of the muzzle. You saw the bore size, he said, of the barrel. And you saw that there was a laser. Why didn't you shoot him there? And Officer Raja's answer is, and he short-circuited.
I thought I shot him. I thought I shot at him.
When you first pulled out your gun?
Yeah. When I first pulled out the gun, I gave him, like, drop the gun. And when he didn't, I believe I shot him there.
Okay. Okay. How many rounds do you think you fired in total?
5.
Okay.
Maybe 6 or 5.
What kind of gun is it? What kind
it's
of
a Glock 27 40 caliber.
The mini Glock?
The mini Glock, yeah, the baby Glocks, yeah.
For those of you that don't know about guns, a 40 caliber is a very big bullet. It's a very big bullet. It's thicker around than like a pencil, and it's about an inch and a half long. Causes a lot of damage. When he says it's a mini Glock, don't be confused that it's a small gun. It's a 40 caliber gun. Mini just means that it's a smaller frame, a smaller grip, so that it can be concealed in the front of your waistband, the back of your waistband, whatever. Doesn't hold many rounds. I believe that gun holds maybe 10 rounds, 10 rounds. So don't be confused by mini Glock. The injuries to Mr. James were just catastrophic. One of the rounds went in his right side of his chest and went through his heart, basically exploded his heart. Another round went into Mr. James's left forearm and broke his forearm so severely that the bones were protruding out the skin. That's the kind of damage this weapon does.
When he pointed the gun at you and you pulled your gun and you thought you fired, could you at any point, either there or down there, see if muzzle flash, you're familiar with muzzle flash?
Yes, absolutely.
Uniforms instructor?
Yes,
Did you ever see that come out of his gun?
I didn't even see my own muzzle flash. I didn't even hear my own gun go off. All I remember was just the motion of pulling that trigger. I didn't even know if I couldn't even hear my own bang. I think I was just so like, drop the gun. I don't think I even heard my own gun go off.
Okay. Would you describe your demeanor I shouldn't say demeanor, lack of term here. As police officers, we often patrol with kind of a heightened sense of alertness. If that makes sense. Do you think that your level, how would you describe your level of alertness?
That's an excellent question. I love this detective in the black. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, he asks very, very pointed and poignant questions. The detective in the black already knows what happened here. Officer Raja pulled up aggressive. He was on his way to a hot run, pulls up aggressive, jumps out of the car aggressively, probably had his gun out first, and was speaking to him aggressively. And that's what he's asking him. Do you think that your heightened sense of awareness or your heightened sense of hypervigilance or whatever was on display here and that may have caused Mr. James to pull his gun out? Let's see what Officer Raja says.
When you first saw his car and then before he pulled the firearm out?
First of all, I didn't even know he was inside the car. Right. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm kicking myself in the ass. Hindsight's 20/20. And I preach this at the academy. Always, when you see an abandoned vehicle, when you see something like that, always treat it like there's somebody inside because you never know. And I go and do the cynical sin, like if I knew there was a guy inside, I wouldn't do something stupid like this by pulling in front of the car like that. Because I drove by, there's nobody, and I made the U-turn, and I'm watching, there's nobody inside the car. I'm like, oh man, they probably ran out of gas, walked the corner gas station or something like that. So let me just pull in front of it. I'll put my flashers on and everything. Hey, call out the tag, call out the, like it's a broke down vehicle and everything, see if it needs to be towed or what.
So the only reason you got out there
was because he jumped out. Yeah.
Okay.
He caught me off guard, and it's again like I preached that stuff, and I went ahead.
Officer Raja, at one point you said that when he got out, you said, "Hey man, police,
yes,
can I help you?" At what point did he say what he said something? Correct?
He said right off the second he got out the car, I jumped out immediately. He said, "I'm good, man, I'm good."
Even before or after you said police?
Even before. That was the first words. He said, "Hey man, I'm good, I'm good." And I responded with, "Hey man, police, can I help you?"
Did he say anything after that?
No. That was like the click. It was like, wait a minute. A normal person would be like, if a normal human being was broken down and I identified myself as a police officer, like wanting to help them, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm waiting for someone to come bring the gas, or I called a tow truck already, or whatever the case might be. And he immediately just jumped back, and I saw that fucking gun come at me. And at that point, it's like, he knows I'm a cop. I identified myself. This guy's trying to kill me. And I was...
Officer Raja is working overtime here to let these detectives know that he identified himself as the police. I believe he said it 4 or 5 times there. He never did. And he knows that that's critical to his case. Officer Raja knows that he didn't identify himself as the police, and that in his behavior and his aggressive actions pulling up on this vehicle is what caused this whole incident. Mr. James was sitting in his car minding his own business waiting for a tow truck. This would have never happened had this officer not done what he did. And Officer James's actions were extremely understandable given what this officer did, failure to identify, the aggressive nature pulling up, and quite frankly, probably having his gun out first.
And I didn't want to die.
Did you have anything out that would identify yourself physically as a police officer?
I didn't even get a chance to even grab my wallet out, because the funny thing is, earlier in the night, I was in the aisles when I was doing my patrol in aisles. As you enter the aisles, you make the first right, and there was a gentleman walking his dog, and he immediately saw me, and because I was blacked out in a van driving around, and I immediately grabbed my wallet, and I went like this. I was like, "Sorry, I'm a police officer. It's okay. We're here doing surveillance and everything." So I knew to identify myself right off the bat. But
that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And these officers and detectives know that that's a lie. When you are working undercover, plainclothes, undercover, you never, ever, ever voluntarily tell somebody that you're undercover and show them a badge. You don't give yourself up like that. You don't know if that guy walking the dog isn't a gangbanger or a drug dealer, or knows the gangbangers or drug dealers, isn't going to go tell them, "Hey, heads up, there's an undercover cop over there. He just showed me his badge. He's in a white van." That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, Officer Raja. And they're not buying it either. He's just an idiot.
It happened so quick. He drew that gun so quick on me.
Okay.
You have the holster for your gun with you?
Yeah, no, they have it.
What is the attachment you have on your belt there?
This is for my leg holster.
Okay.
That's
Did
what-
you have that tactical belt on at the time?
Yes, this is the same exact belt I had on.
Okay.
This right here, I had it in the waistband holster. And the whole thing with the drop leg holster was, if I do need to go out, something like that, put the vest on, put the holster on, and then go.
Okay. Let's talk about two other things.
Yes, sir.
The when you said you swore you shot up there when he first pulled the gun at you, did you see if it had an impact on him?
I couldn't tell. I wouldn't.
Did you notice?
Were you watching him at the time?
My
This is also why this is so dumb, and these detectives should be reprimanded for this. One of the detectives, or whoever that was standing there, just stepped on the evidence and tipped over the evidence placard. I don't know why they're having this discussion in the middle of where all of the evidence placards and the crime scene is, let alone being out there in the first place. But none of them are clued into the fact that they shouldn't be standing in the middle of a crime scene kicking evidence around.
I was watching that gun.
Did he fall down?
No.
Did he stumble? Did he say ouch or you shot me or anything?
Did he say anything at that point?
Nothing. Nothing was said. And he was just pointing the gun right.
Okay. No body reaction to indicate something may have occurred?
No, nothing. Just flight at that point.
And which hand was he holding the gun in?
Right.
Okay.
And again, do you remember where it came from?
He was my view was blocked by that door a
Okay.
lot, so I couldn't tell if he had it in his waist, if he had it in the door, if he had it on his seat. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember seeing that thing coming right at me.
When he ran, was he full sprint back?
I saw him running.
Running fast?
Not fast. It wasn't fast because I still have, like, if he was I guess he was, you could say if he was in a full sprint trying to run away, he would probably made it a lot further.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna ask you to do one thing after
Yes, sir.
I ask you one more question. The blood, you said you got blood all over.
Yes.
How'd you do that?
when we went, once we found his body and everything, and it was only me, Sergeant Sprague, and Sergeant Anderson, and when we saw his body, we flashed the light on him. We were up here at this guardrail, right kind of like where this emergency truck is sitting at. And we looked down, and we're like, oh, there he is. His hands were tucked underneath him.
Right.
We couldn't even see his hands. So one of the sergeants said, we need to go make sure that he's that he's not alive still. He's not holding on to the weapon and everything like that. And Sergeant Anderson had the shield out. I was behind him in shield cover like this. And Sergeant Sprague was on further from me with a rifle out. And we slowly approached the body. I think we gave some royal guys, show me your hands, show me your hands. And nothing happened, didn't move, didn't even flinch. And Sergeant Sprague said, Raj, we got cover, holster up. We got to pull his hands out. And so holstered, pulled his hand out, pulled the other hand out. And then I'm not sure if it was Sergeant Sprague or Sergeant Anderson. They said, let's flip him just to make sure that he's not laying on top of the gun. So I grabbed his arm and I flipped him. There was no gun, nothing. Seeing Sergeant Sprague, like, okay, he's clear. Let's call fire rescue up. And I walked about like, I'm going to go wash myself. I'm covered in blood.
And where did you do that at?
There was a fire truck and an ambulance right behind it with the rescue. And I walked back there. I was like, I need to wash this off me. And the firefighter, she grabbed a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, popped it, and just started dumping it all over me. And I was just washing myself.
Okay, so two things real quick. Some of these questions may seem confusing, or why are they asking this? So the detective in the black, again, he's a great detective, really good questions. He asked him, when he was running away from you, was he like sprinting, or describe how he was running away from you? Why that's important is there's a timeline here. And what you have is you have the victim's vehicle. About 20 feet away, you have 3 shell casings. Another 20 feet away, you have 3 more shell casings. About 25 feet further away from that, in the grass, you have the victim's gun. And then about 100 feet further away from the gun, you have the victim. All of those things are in a line. So what you need to do is see how long it took each person to get to each point on that line in a timeline. And why it's critical is Raja's defense here is going to be Well, he still had the gun when I shot him and killed him, and he pointed at me. So it's important to show where the gun is and also what the victim's state of health was at that point. And Officer Raja has already admitted, I didn't see any reaction of his body from the first 3 shots, and he kept running. So that sort of sets the timeline of when the 3 shots that did strike, when those occurred, and it was well after the gun was dropped. Now, the defense's argument could be, well, he was shot twice while he still had the gun before he dropped it, but then was able to run another 125 feet, and Officer Raja didn't know that he still didn't have the gun, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what you're doing here is firming up a timeline of when he had the gun, when he got rid of the gun, when the shots were fired, and how far he ran.
Now to go back when the gentleman was rolled over, did anybody check him to see if he had any kind of weapons?
No.
Sorry to interrupt again, but and furthermore, the reason he asked the questions about when did you touch him, how did you grab his arms, did you wash your hands, whatever, they just want to make sure that there wasn't a physical confrontation between Officer Raja and Mr. James at the car. Like they were so close to each other, they're 4 feet away, that there wasn't some sort of physical confrontation where Officer Raja grabbed him, and that's when maybe Mr. James pulled the gun or something like that, that there wasn't any physical contact, because they're going to do DNA tests on the body, the victim's clothing, and on Officer Raja's clothing and his belt and stuff like that, just to see if there was DNA transfer. Kind of hard to do now that he's admitted to, I grabbed his arms and pulled his arms out and I got his blood all over me. So that's kind of a moot point at this point, but that's why those questions were being asked.
Did you see anything in the ground around him?
We just kind of like did this and everything. It's hard and so like we need to get out of this. We shouldn't contaminate this crime scene anymore.
And didn't see anything out of the ordinary?
Immediate area, no.
Okay.
Was that truck here when this happened?
No, this truck was like way towards the end. They just needed more lights, so they called it in.
Just making sure. And did you have anything to do with recovering any piece of evidence around here?
No.
Whether it be shell casings or guns or anything like that?
Second that happened, second I washed my hands, Sergeant Anderson was like, Raj, you need to be with me, and he took me. Do you see where those officers, where those guys are standing right there by that car?
Yes.
Right there, and I was there for the rest of till our
Never
command bus.
entered the crime scene again
No.
until you did this reenactment?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Did you get into a car or were you still outside?
No, I was outside the car the whole time till the command bus, our command bus came, and I got into our command bus, and then your command bus came, and I switched over to yours.
Okay.
What's the first thing he did when you yelled police at him?
Second, I said, "Hey, man, police!" He immediately just stepped back, and I remember clearly seeing that gun over that door, pointing right at me.
So that's interesting. That's the attorney. That's Raja's attorney. He does this 2, maybe 3 times in this video. He wants to emphasize and reiterate to the detectives the narrative that Officer Raja wants to give. So here he's saying, what is the first thing you did when Mr. James pulled the gun on you? He's trying to impart to these detectives that Mr. James pulled the gun first and that Mr. Raja's response and behavior was appropriate. It's a very deliberate question, and it's to put the answer out in front of these detectives again. I mean, it's a defense attorney. That's what he's supposed to be doing.
Tell me about, you mentioned your, I want you to talk about your emotions at the time of the entire incident, but take it from when he first popped out of the car. You thought it was unoccupied, you said?
Yeah,
Tell me about your emotions and how they progressed.
Okay, well, again, like I said, I couldn't see any occupants inside the vehicle at all. I thought the vehicle was completely unoccupied. That's why I pulled up like a retard in front of the vehicle, because my whole plan was I'm going to pull in front of it, put my flash on, make sure, let dispatch know, hey, there's a car abandoned over here on the side of the road, or there's this, I'm going to go check at the gas station and everything.
Right.
But second, as I come, the guy pops out of nowhere, jumps out, and I was like, whoa! And I'm just used to throwing that thing in park and jumping out of the car, just like training what we do almost on a daily basis, and it just immediately my training just carried.
And I guarantee you, when his quote training kicked in and this guy just jumped out of the car, I guarantee you Officer Raja pulled his backup weapon out of his pants and had it out.
I did not even have to think about it, and that was like, And it's the holster thing. Like when I saw that gun and I drew on him, and I was like, and I'm like questioning myself, how did I draw that quick on this guy? And it went from like, almost say it's nothing, it's just a car broken down, to holy fuck, I'm about to die. And it was just a, like, you immediately like think here. You know, all I could think was this, the night before I went home and my wife saw me playing, she's like, what are you doing? I was doing surveillance last night. And the first words out of her mouth was, where's your vest? I was like, honey, it's inside the van, it's next to me. If I need it, I can throw it on and everything. And all I could think was, small kids, man.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, when he gathers his thoughts, just one more question.
Yeah, I have something.
You okay?
Yeah.
Now, when he got out of the car, how did he get out of that car? Did it look like he just opened up the door and stepped out?
I saw him
what
pop
was that?
out fast, like,
Okay.
like I couldn't tell like if he stepped his left foot, right foot, because my van's pretty high, van, it was blocked. I just saw him pop out like right there, like, oh, and it just caught me off guard. I was like, what the f?
Okay.
Got red laser.
I believe these emotions are real. In a lot of these interrogations and interviews, I don't believe the fake emotion sometimes. I actually believe this. It seems genuine. His face gets scrunched up. It appears authentic, and I think it's a product of post-traumatic stress and emotions, and a realization too that, you know, he's in it now.
You said that, did it flash or was it
It was
steady light?
flickering.
It was flickering?
Yes, sir.
You said you know about guns.
Yes, sir. Laser Max is the only company that makes a laser that goes in the guide rod of the gun, and they're not a steady laser. They're designed to flicker like that to give you like, hey, this is where I'm at.
And did you see? Were you there when if there was a gun recovered? Were you there? Or did you see it afterwards?
I haven't seen the gun. I haven't seen anything. Again, like, you know, after we got the body and everything, after I washed my hands, they immediately took me over there, and I've been there the whole time.
Don't know if you caught the look on the defense attorney's or the Officer Raj's attorney there. He was hearing that Officer Raja doesn't know anything about the gun for the first time, and I think he had an inquisitive look on his face like, I wonder if there even is a gun or where it is. All the more reason Officer Raja should not be giving this statement at this point. He doesn't know what all the evidence is, and he doesn't know how to... I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's a dummy, and I'm glad his attorney's a dummy, and that he's saying all this stuff now, which is going to be easily contradicted by the evidence. Had he known that the gun was found, 75 feet away from where he's standing right now, and that when he fired the fatal shots, the man was unarmed, he might have had a little bit different story, or they might have been able to be a little more creative with their defense. But he's getting locked in right now, so.
Now, you said you saw the laser. Did you see the end point of that laser at any point?
Like where was? No,
yeah.
No
Okay.
idea.
Okay. Two more things.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when you discharged your weapon? You said you believed it was down there. Did you discharge it anywhere over there?
Yes, I discharged it, and this is what I'm saying. It's like when he was running, and I was going after, I was yelling, I was like, drop the gun, I'm gonna kill you, drop the gun. And I'm yelling at this.
Drop the gun, I'm gonna fucking kill you, drop the gun. Oops. Look at his attorney's face. He's apoplectic that he just said that. And the anger in his voice, and the aggression in his voice, and the tenseness of his arm as he's reenacting that was a huge slip up. And let me just tell you this, when the jury saw that, I guarantee you their minds were made up. Drop the gun, I'm gonna fucking kill you, drop the gun. It's horrible.
This guy dropped the gun at the top of my lungs, and I see him do one of these numbers come back, and all I remember saying to myself in my head was like, aim! And I even yelled, I was like, aim! and I put that front sight right into the black silhouette, and I squeezed again.
Do me a favor, as best you can, the same thing. Approximate where you were. Again, I know it's just an approximation.
I remember. Oh, and do you have the, like, in the area?
Yeah.
Hey. Now, which one is this? Because you had testified earlier that you shot twice.
Yes.
This is second.
This is the second.
Or the first.
The second series.
Okay.
First series, second series.
Very good.
I probably remember seeing the aim or somewhere. Oh, again, sorry.
Oops. Let me get out of your way.
Probably have to say somewhere around. Come up to about almost here. I think.
Yeah, watch
It
right
was
behind.
Oh, how convenient that the evidence markers of his shell casings from his second round of shots is right there, and he's going to put the cones right there, saying, "I was right in here somewhere." Yeah, this was not smart on these detectives' part, but I mean, they're getting the info that they want, and they're getting his contradictory statements, but it would have been a lot juicier statement to them, and probably filled with even more lies, had Officer Raja not been able to craft his narrative based on the evidence still sitting at the scene.
Somewhere in this, because I remember I didn't hug the guardrail. I remember I was coming wide. And I remember yelling aim.
I've been on the range 200 times, at least, with probably 30 officers each time. I've never heard an officer yell aim while he fired a weapon or drew down on the target. I've never heard an instructor yell aim when it was time to address the target and fire at the target. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
So it was in this general
in this
area.
general area.
Okay.
At which point was he pointing the gun at you? He was running backwards and it turned.
He was running. He was running from me, and he did one of these numbers.
Where?
Where was he at that point?
Yeah. Can we?
Yeah, absolutely. Go.
I would probably say somewhere
Oh, hold on 1 second.
in this general vicinity. You want me to?
I don't want you getting wet. It
That's
looks like
I'm already.
Listen, don't go if
Okay.
it's a canal.
I'll toss him.
Okay.
You want me to toss him?
Yeah.
All right.
And again, it's just approximate.
This is approximate. I would say probably from about here to about this area.
Okay. Right. So right in that area.
Right
That's
in
where
that
he
area.
was when he.
That's when he goes. He turned around and he just went like this, and I was like, and I remember yelling, "Aim!" and just.
When he spun, you saw the barrel again.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw him. I saw this.
It's a little leading, but
Yeah.
No, but I saw the biggest thing is, here's the thing. Again, from like training and experience and being around firearms and teaching firearms and everything like that, here's the thing. If somebody's running, if they're looking back versus when they see a whole body spin and you see that fist come up like this, he's holding a fucking gun. He's trying to kill me.
Did you see one at that point?
Yes, I saw something and then he dropped, and that's when I said I saw something silver fall.
He dropped and I saw something silver fall. Not true. Where he was killed is about 100 feet away from the gun.
Okay.
the last thing I'm going to have you to do, it sounds silly. Let's go back
Yes,
to
sir.
the car.
Come here.
I'm going to keep up.
Trying.
The last thing I'm going to have you do is, as best you can, physically and verbally, reenact the moment without getting in your van. You can
Okay.
start at the driver's door.
Okay.
Reenact everything you did. Simulate drawing your gun, because I know you don't have a gun now. As best you can, reenact it as if it was just happening now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
Without getting in my vehicle.
And when I say reenact it, I want the volume of your voice to be the same. I want your
Do it 100%.
your
Okay.
speed
As
in
best
your
you
walk
can.
or your run to be the same, and progress all the way through.
All the way through, okay.
Yep.
All right. So as I'm coming, he pops out,
Keith, you're probably gonna have to keep up if he starts running.
And he says, hey man, he jumps out, he's like, hey man, I'm okay. I'm like, hey man, cops, hey man, police, can I help you? And he immediately, hey man, police, can I help you? And he draws the gun on me and says, drop the gun, and bang, bang, bang. And he starts running, and I start chasing him. And I'm calling 911. Hey, this is Gardens Alpha, this is Roger. I just shot a guy. The guy had a gun, and I'm describing the guy. And as he's going right there, he stops and he turns around, looks at me, and I'm like, aim! And I bang, bang, bang. And I fire about 2 or maybe 3 rounds over here. And I see him drop. And I come up a little bit more, and I'm still on the phone. I slow down, and then I couldn't see him anymore. And I was like, I've lost sight of him. I don't know where he is. And they're like, go back at your radio.
The 911 call was recorded. There were no gunshots fired on the 911 call.
Radio. And I just started walking backwards, ran back, and got my radio.
Now, in your estimate, the length of time that you just did that, roughly the same?
3 to 4 seconds, if that.
Okay.
Maybe 5.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take you over to Sergeant
Moleskar?
Yes, sir.
I'm mixing up the names. Where he put your gun in the trunk.
Yes,
the only reason I'm going to have you go over there is to identify that as your gun.
Okay, we'll do.
And then we're going to take it as evidence.
Okay.
And
got you.
that'll conclude everything.
We have one other question.
Sure.
Because you had touched the body down there, do you have any problem with giving us a sample of your DNA?
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll have one of our crime scene girls do that.
Okay, no problem.
Prior to you leaving.
They haven't taken a picture of me either yet.
Okay. If you have no problems with that, we'll do that too.
No problem,
Do it all at the same time. All right. We'll go over. You get the key?
Okay.
That's it right
Sergeant Mole reassured me he has no other handguns in the car. So this is your gun?
That is my handgun right there. That's my off-duty. That's my personally owned Glock 27.
Okay.
Since the incident and before you gave it to Sergeant Mole, did you reload your weapon?
No, sir.
Did you tamper with it?
No,
Did you take casings out or bullets out? Nothing?
Nothing, sir.
Just pick up anything out here on the road?
Nothing at all, sir.
Okay.
I think I know the answer. I want you to say it.
Yes, sir.
Was there any physical contact between you and the suspect?
No, sir.
He never grabbed you? You never grabbed him?
No, sir.
No tussle?
No.
Besides the end?
Yes,
where you
besides,
flipped him
exactly. Yes, sir.
out? Okay. We're going to inventory this in your presence.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
If you want to come right over here, that'll be fine. Go ahead, Larry.
Got a Glock 27, 40 caliber. One live round in the chamber, Winchester 40 S&W. Magazine.
Is that your serial number on it?
Yes, it is, sir. And that is a department issued ammunition too.
Okay, that's a department issued gun?
No, that's my personal gun. I qualified with it
Say
as
that
my
again.
off-duty with the department, and that's department issued ammunition inside the gun.
And the gun in the van?
The gun in the van, that's 100% department everything.
Okay.
Okay, and then
And I apologize. This is personally owned?
Yes, sir. This is personally owned, but authorized by the department, and department is qualified with it, and department issued.
Winchester 40 S&W round.
So she pulled the magazine out of the gun, and she's just checking how many bullets are in the magazine, just to confirm how many shots were fired at the scene. So she first racked one out of the chamber, so the gun was hot, which means that it's in the condition that it was in immediately after the shooting. And in any officer-involved shooting, the sergeant or the commander on the scene, once the scene is calmed down, will immediately remove that officer from the scene and take his weapon. The weapon is evidence. So it's not that he's in trouble already. It's just that weapon and the magazines are evidence. So there were 3 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. That's 4. And there were 6 shell casings recovered at the scene. So that's 10. So it must be a 9-round magazine, and then you can put 1 in the chamber. For those of you that don't know anything about guns, if you have an empty gun like that and you insert a full magazine, which is 9 rounds, into the chamber, and then you rack it like you see on TV, that puts 1 in the chamber. Then you drop the magazine again. That's the thing that holds the bullets. And then you put 1 more bullet in that, and then you stick it back in the gun. Now you've got 1 in the chamber and 9 in the magazine. Police officers do that with our live weapon just so we have the maximum amount of bullets. You don't just want to be short 1 bullet. You might need that bullet one day. So let's see what happens when she unloads the other magazine. There should be 9 bullets in that magazine.
How many?
Sorry if we talked over
Sorry.
you.
How many were there?
There are 3 live 40 S&W Winchester rounds in the magazine that was taken from the pistol, and then one live round
in the
from the
chamber.
chamber.
How do you usually load your weapon? So you max out the magazine and then 1 in the chamber. Do you add that 1? How do you do it?
Magazine is always topped off, 1 in the chamber.
Okay. And the firearm that's in the van, same way?
Same exact.
Yeah, okay, so
There will be 20 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber because I have a +5 extender on those magazines.
okay, how many magazines do you have in the car?
I just couldn't hear
Okay,
what you just said.
no. I said on the handgun inside my duty gun, there'll be 1 in the chamber and 20 in the magazine, so a total of 21.
And do you have extra magazines in the car?
Yes, on my vest I have 2.
And they're 20 also?
No, they're not 20. They're I think like 17s or 18s.
Okay. Okay.
Just for information, for the extra magazine, had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, so 9 rounds came out of that magazine, which is the magazine for that gun, the spare magazine. So that confirms that that magazine holds 9, and with 1 in the chamber, that's 10, which is how he said he carries that weapon. So all of the bullets, all of the rounds have been accounted for, which is what you want to do at a shooting scene. You don't want there to be a missing round or a missing bullet. You're going to have to match up rounds to the body, rounds fired to the shell casings, and you try not to leave a scene until you've accounted for all the bullets. They have 6 shell casings on the ground. That means 6 shots were fired because there's 4 left in the gun and it holds 10. So just good documentation by this crime scene investigator here.
9 live. They all look like Winchester 40 S&W rounds. And that was the extra magazine that was on top of the holster inside.
And furthermore, you're matching up the shell casings on the scene with the shell casing or with the rounds in that gun. I've been on scenes before where 3 different guns were fired among 3 people within close proximity. And I think one of the guns, the guy had mixed rounds in there. He had Remington and Smith & Wesson or ACP or something like that. I mean, it just piecing together who shot who from where with which gun took us hours at that scene trying to match up all the shell casings and stuff. So that's what she's doing. She's confirming that is the make and model of those shell casings, which they'll match up. They want to make sure that Mr. James didn't fire his gun. So, they're going to be looking for shell casings and try and confirm whether or not that gun was fired, because that obviously would make a huge difference in the scene.
Okay. Satisfied? Any other questions?
Nothing that I can think of at this point. Yes, sir.
So when a guy's running in a nutshell and he turns around, I don't want to word. He turns around. You said with his right arm.
I saw his right hand come like this. I saw something in his hand pointing in my direction.
What do you think at that point?
He's gone. He's shooting at me. He's trying to kill me.
That's why he shot at him?
And exactly. And that's when it's like the thing like aim came to me. It's like aim. And I remember picking up that front sight, putting it right in the silhouette and squeezing.
Have you ever seen this guy before, to your knowledge?
Never.
You ever seen that vehicle before?
No, sir. Never.
When you said police, you identified yourself as a police officer there?
Yes.
Any other time during this whole incident did you say police?
Sorry, I'm a little late stopping it there. That was a really good question by, I think it's the prosecuting attorney. He said, have you ever seen this vehicle before? Have you ever seen him before? What they're trying to do is figure out why Officer Raja U-turned in the middle of an exit ramp, driving the wrong way on the exit ramp to approach this vehicle at an aggressive angle from the front and then jump out of his car. Now, if Officer Raja had said, yeah, that car, I know that guy to be a gangbanger, or I know that a vehicle like that was involved in a shooting last week, and when I saw that vehicle, that's when I, pulled around and ran up on it. All of those things are way better excuses for what he did than I was on my way to a hot run with a domestic situation where they needed riot shields, but I decided to U-turn to investigate this seemingly abandoned vehicle at 3:30 in the morning that I've never seen before. They're trying to give him an out, actually, interestingly enough, or not trying to, but just confirming that couldn't be the situation. If Raja was any smarter, he would have jumped all over that, but he didn't.
I don't know what to tell you.
What's that?
I don't know what to I remember screaming, drop the gun, drop the gun. I remember screaming that. I'm sure I probably said, police, drop the gun. It's just,
You don't remember?
I don't remember, yeah.
Okay. I'm happy about
Good. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Could it concluded?
We're going to go ahead and conclude the statement. Ending time is at 08:40 hours by my watch.
That's still on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, viewers, do not stop the video. This is really interesting. At the end of this video, they're going to play the recording of Officer Raja's 911 phone call intermixed with the call that Mr. James was on with AAA tow services or whatever it was. And they've kind of synced them all together so you get an accurate audio of this entire incident. And they've got the words written out and stuff so you can read along. Pay close attention to this because this, in a nutshell, is the whole case. I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to talk over it.
In fact, you throw it with those cones.
In June 2016, a grand jury indicts Raja on 2 charges: manslaughter by culpable negligence and attempted first-degree murder with a firearm. 4 months later, investigators publicly released key evidence in the case, including Raja's 911 call. Crucially, they also share a recording of a roadside assistance call that Corey Jones was on at the time he was shot.
Thank you for calling AT&T Roadside Assistance. This is Maddie. Give me one moment to pull up the account. And what's the name on it?
Corey Jones.
Okay.
Housing.
Yeah, I see Delray Beach House.
Yes.
Alrighty. And what can I do for you tonight?
I need to get a tow. I'm
Okay.
broke down.
And is this mobile number with the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. What's wrong with the vehicle?
It won't start.
Okay. What's the address of the vehicle location?
I'm off the PGA southbound exit on 95.
On 95?
I-95 exit PGA southbound.
Is there any buildings, landmarks, anything like that that I could use to pinpoint your address?
Huh? I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's gunshots.
Gun right now!
911.
Hey, this is Gardens Alpha 1. I just got one down. I just shot one person. I'm at that off-ramp right behind Doubletree. Blackmail.
You're behind the Doubletree?
I'm on the off-ramp, 95 southbound off-ramp, off the double tree. I am not covered in anything right now. And, give me some units. I got one down. I got one man down. Have fire ready, stand by.
Roger, you all right?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Drop the go!
On the off-ramp, right?
On the off-ramp. Get me some units. I've lost contact with him. I don't know where he is.
All right, you got it, buddy. Where's your radio? Where's your radio, Raj?
My radio's in the van right now. I don't have it with me. That's why I'm on the phone.
All right, stay on the phone, buddy. What's the guy look like?
Black male wearing all black dress, had a silver handgun in his right hand. I came out, I saw him come out with a handgun, I gave him commands, I identified myself, and he turned, pointed the gun at me, started running, I shot him.
All right, stay on the phone. Where's the van at? Where's your van at? In the double tree lot?
No, right on the off-ramp. You'll see my van right there. I'm walking back to my van. I'm back to my van in the car. He's hit at least 3 to 4 times.
All units, signal 33.
All right, you got your radio now?
Hotel.
No, hold on, not yet.
All right, I got units coming.
Male and dreads on the off-ramp behind double tree. Males outside.
All right, stay on the phone, all right, buddy?
Temple. Unknown where the male went.
All right.
Gardens Alpha 1, I'm by the radio now.
26. Rise male hit 3 to 4 times. 51. FD 51 stage. 350. We're in the parking lot.
I'm not in the parking lot. I'm right on the off-ramp. He ran across into the grass towards 95. Guys, right here. He ran in that direction. I lost visual of him.
The recordings revealed that Raja fired his final shot 33 seconds before he dialed 911, not during the call as he had claimed. The recordings also showed that Raja never identified himself as a police officer to Jones, directly contradicting his official statement. In 2019, Nouman Raja was found guilty of manslaughter by culpable negligence and attempted first-degree murder with a firearm. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The family of Corey Jones filed a wrongful death lawsuit, receiving a $2 million settlement from the city.
I'm going to leave that on the screen for a minute. My apologies to Corey Jones. I believe I was calling him Mr. James the whole video, and I apologize. That's Corey Jones. He was 31 years old. You see him in front of a drum set there. He was a drummer for a band. I believe he had just left playing at a gig. Well liked by his family, his friends, a talented musician, and shame to lose somebody under those circumstances. That's going to do it for the video, and I will see you guys next time.